Rosemary, great to talk to you this evening. Now, a bit daunting, you were named as the 16th most powerful woman in the country by Woman's Hour. How do you take that?
Well, my son said I was robbed, actually, because the Queen was #1, of course, and she's born to it, whereas the rest of us have had to climb our ways or up the greasy pole. No, it was a great recognition, I think, for our company, frankly, that we have over 6 million households on our database, and I think it's a very powerful thing to be able to communicate with about 1/4 of the population in the UK.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And how do you stand on women and glass ceilings in terms of progression?
I think there still is a glass ceiling. I think when you look around, I spend my time working with financial institutions, with banks, in private equity, and there are very, very few women. I can think of one that I have worked with in all the time that I've been in private equity. And I think in certain areas of business there's a huge glass ceiling.
So what do we need to do to sort that?
Well, as I spend my time in boardrooms, I think it has to change at the top with the constitution of boards, and I'm afraid, having spent years and years thinking it will all change because, you know, merit, there are brilliantly educated women who've got lots of great experience, and it's all going to change. It doesn't. And the truth is, and I do it myself, you know, most of us want to employ or hire or feel comfortable with people who are like ourselves. So I think you often find a lot of particular type of person hiring the same, and it just replicates itself time after time after time. And I think the whole chemistry in a boardroom is very different when there's a diverse mix.
So do you employ quite a lot of women?
We do. I've positively tried to encourage women, and it's very difficult. I've got 3 kids myself. One of them's disabled, and how you juggle working with a family life, and I want a family life, of course I do, and I think most people do as well, not all, but most, and it is a juggle, and I think you have to have flexible working practices. We've encouraged job sharing, working from home, part-time working, wherever we can, and it's not always easy, but wherever we can, we've done our best to accommodate women.
Now, you're a Nottingham girl. Tell us about how you got into the high world of theatre management.
Well, through Nottingham, actually. The Nottingham Playhouse, when I was growing up, when I was a kid there, was run by Richard Eyre, now Sir Richard, who ran the National Theatre, and it was just a fantastic place. I think one of the reasons I'm so committed to regional theatre and the regional arts in the UK is because I am a Nottingham girl. I'm not from London, and I was really fortunate to have brilliant theatre on my doorstep as I grew up.
Now, theatre, do you run what might be called popular theatre? Because, you know, a lot of people are quite critical of what you might refer to as sort of unnecessary frippery in regional theatre. Tell me what is the theatre that you want to encourage in the provinces, like here in Bristol?
I think many of the regional theatres that we run are large, therefore whatever we put on the stage has got to be broad-based. It's got to have a broad appeal. You know, a theatre like the Bristol Hippodrome, if you're rattling around with 300 people in the auditorium, it feels empty, and it's not a great experience for you or the performers or anybody. So, I do apologise, I've got a terrible cold, so apologies for that. It's broad-based, but that doesn't mean to say broad-based has got to be bad or somehow is poor in quality. I think we would, if you think of ourselves a bit like Crufts, the dog show, what we aspire to do is to be best in breed. You know, we want the best retriever, we want the best dachshund, we want the best Great Dane. And so whether it's Lion King in the Great Dane category, or Tonight's the Night, which is a fun musical about Rod Stewart, or whether it's a play called The Pride, which I was very proud we toured just recently, played 3 regional theatres, small piece that had played Trafalgar Studios in London, and it toured those theatres to great acclaim, and I was really proud we did that.
Your company has enormously fast-growing profits, don't they? And What are the sort of key issues you face as a business?
Well, for any entertainment business, any business that's driven by what happens on stage, it's the content is the constant challenge, which is why we are an integrated business. We produce about 25% of our own content, which means we've got the flexibility to program that work. We've got it when we want it, where we want it, and at the price we want it. So, for example, you may not launch your most expensive production ever at June, which is perhaps a bad time of year as you go into the summer, or maybe January when everyone's broke after Christmas. But you may slot in something that's relatively low cost that you can take out and to, to create work to put on the stages in the cities where you want them on the dates you want.
Yeah. Now, what about Bristol? Bristol Hippodrome, big theatre, successful?
I have to say, Bristol is one of the most sought after theatres in the land. Probably the most sought after in the region.
In terms of?
Yeah, I think it's a terrific catchment. I think it's a lovely building. I think it's a vibrant, burgeoning city. Great cultural offer. You've got to go down the road to the Old Vic. Different entirely, but a great quality and mix. And I think people are used to going out and having a great offer on their doorstep in Bristol. And it is, consequently, we do really well, and producers therefore want to come back to the Hippodrome and to book their shows into it.
And are you seeing the economy come into your door? Are you seeing more and more people coming to the theatre?
We are.
Because it's not cheap, is it?
It's not cheap, but during the recession, which, if you like, from 2007-8 to this year, we have more than doubled the size of our company. We acquired our biggest competitor in 2009, which included Bristol. That was one of the theatres then owned by an American company called Live Nation. And we integrated them into the group, and from that point, which was in 2009 to this year, we've doubled the size of the company, which is no mean feat during a recession. And I think, recession or no recession, everyone still has a birthday or a wedding anniversary or a special occasion they want to go out with the family. And it's, if you like, an affordable luxury. That yes, when you go, you want to be sure you're going to have a great time and the content's going to be great, but it's also, you can't stay at home and watch TV all the time. You want to have something special. You might not move house or buy a new car or even go abroad for a holiday, but you may go out and mark your wedding anniversary.
Absolutely. Now, on the business, you've grown so fast. Aren't you actually a key target for a takeover?
Well, I suppose we could be, but I'm not quite sure who would take us over. Because theatre is very fragmented. It's almost, in many ways, a cottage industry. So you've got lots of small companies and lots of small businesses. Many of the regional theatres in the UK are run as single operations. Or in London, you've got perhaps 3 or 4 quite large groups, but they don't have any interest in the regions. And in the US, again, it's a very small club of theatre owners and operators on Broadway in New York. There's probably fingers of one hand who operate theatres there. So it's a very small but fragmented club. And nobody seems to have done what we've done in terms of wanting a properly integrated business with the theatre buildings, owning and operating them, with the content in the middle, which we provide all the cornerstones for our venues, and across a great range. Our content is a small play like The Pride, or a major musical like West Side Story, which is a huge variety and everything in between. So we're more akin to a broadcaster than we are to like a niche publisher. And I think nobody has the same business model as us on that kind of scale. So I struggle a bit to think about who might buy us. You may be right.